I think Mark and Barbara feel as Joan and I do after retirement from ACU, that they'll feel kind of the same way. We miss university life. The theater and music and art and outstanding speakers and guests that come to campus and sports and dinners and meetings. So as we've walked the campus, we're greeted by these friendly students, and we see and visit with colleagues who are making significant contributions to their discipline and to the development of the hearts and minds of students. And it's always great to come back and to see you. Our first day on campus, I was up in the second floor of the library looking out. I didn't need to go to chapel, I didn't think, because I wasn't required to. I heard the chimes and music from the bell tower as it called faculty, students, and staff to a time of worship and community. And you know, Joan and Barbara were in chapel quite often. They would go to chapel, and there's a real blessedness about the Christian kind of character that we can develop at an institution like this through chapel and the development of community through that as well. I first met Mark when he served on the visiting committee for the Brown Library. This was many years ago. He was at Purdue University then. And in the oral report that he gave, he underlined, and I think this just as says something about his breadth and his perception. He talked in his oral report about the importance of the Center for Restoration Studies, and given our heritage, how important that would be and that we ought to give it a high priority. And the significance of the Abilene Library Consortium, and some consortium folks are here today. And the respect he had for the quality moves that the library was making under the leadership of Marcia Harper. And when Marcia retired, we conducted a national search, and the faculty search committee recommended Mark. That was 9 years ago. And so he's had a great run here. Mark sees his work, I think, as ministry, as kingdom work. His accomplishments as the dean are many. And I just want to mention 2 or 3 that I think are important. He gave what I call innovative leadership in the development of the Learning Commons. We just kind of take it for granted now. Because, he didn't say that, I'm just saying that lots of places have Learning Commons now, but we were among the first universities to create a Learning Commons. Indeed, Mark presented papers to his colleagues in other institutions. He and I, in fact, even did some consulting with some colleges and universities in the West with respect to the Learning Commons. Schools visited our campus and observed what we were doing. It was a radical idea, you know. It was radical for several reasons. One of the concerns, of course, that immediately cropped up was whether students and faculty could eat in the library, and whether libraries should be quiet places. Of course, most of us knew, I'd been at several universities, that tucked away where students and faculty couldn't see it, every library had a kitchen. It's just that we couldn't smell it, and they didn't want us to. And we could hear the clanging of knives and forks as they dined, you know, occasionally. Yesterday I was in the library, and I saw groups of students working together as teams. They weren't quiet, but they certainly were learning. And I was just amazed again at how that facility has grown and developed. Wisely, Mark put together, when he first came here then, a faculty committee to examine the feasibility and cost of this project. as well as the expected learning outcomes for it. And I marvel at what has happened since then. There are many, many activities and areas that are a part of the Learning Commons, as you know, the Writing Center, the Media Center, the Learning Studio, the Speaking Center, the special multimedia classroom, and on it goes, all came together in the library. So it's a very different world. And so thanks go to many ACU folks, not only Mark, but others, who wrote grants and secured funds from AT&T and elsewhere, and the hard work of drawing and redrawing the architectural plans, which as I recall drove Kevin Watson crazy because of the changes that needed to be made, or we thought needed to be made along the way. I could say much more, but let me mention two or three other components of Mark's work. Mark is a collaborator. He's somebody who brings people together, and that's what he did with the learnings concept. He has a good sense of how faculty think and work because he himself is a scholar and understands what that is about. He has collaborated and worked side by side with the development office, with the fundraisers. I could give you several examples, but I'll give you just one or two. The Stanley Reading Room on the second floor of the library. The relationship that Mark established working with people from the development office really has made a difference in the second floor of the library. And also in securing collections of letters and documents for the archives and making them available online for researchers. I think, for example, of Judge Pope and all of the things that he has brought, all of the work that he has done, and that has been brought to this institution. And the third thing that I say about about Mark, and about Barbara, is their hospitality. The Tuckers welcome students into their homes. They share meals and pray with friends. They volunteer in the community. And so not only will they be sorely missed at this institution, at ACU, but they also will be missed in the community. Mark was even a member of the Liars Club. I don't know if that's still going or not, but he might have been when he told me he was in the Liars Club, he was lying.
I transitioned out of it.
Oh, you get it. You get it. Changed his character. Mark, we appreciate your leadership. You've built a strong foundation for the new dean. But what I remember most, actually, when I think back about you, is the spiritual food that you offer through the devotional thoughts at the Provost Cabinet meetings. We had wonderful devotionals. People would take turns, coming to the Provost Cabinet, and we'd sing and pray together. Sing little, but pray and listen to a devotional thought. And that spiritual food you offered to us through those devotional thoughts was wonderful. Parenthetically, Marcia also, when she was in this particular position, was one of the greatest devotional writers we've had also. And she did a wonderful job. I guess it has something to do with the fact that librarians and deans and so forth of the library read a lot. And so therefore they can really give us inspirational things. You've been a wonderful Christian scholar and administrator, both of those things. And most of you don't know the long resume that Mark has, the scholarship that he's done and the books that he's written. And being a scholar himself, a faculty member himself, he knew what it was about. So may the next phase of your life bring glory and honor to God, to both of you. And I end with Paul in Galatians regarding Christian character. And this is a passage I read every day. The only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. So I say, live by the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So may God bless you and Barbara as you enter a new phase of your life together in Nashville. We love you very much.
Dwayne and Joan, we're so glad you're back for this occasion, and those words were so appropriate, and I saw a lot of people nodding because those of us who know Mark and Barbara know that what you've said is true. We're here to celebrate Dr. Mark Tucker and his retirement, and that will do. But first, I have to admit that I am sad. I am sad personally that my friends Mark and Barbara won't be here in the weeks and months ahead, and I'll miss them personally and profoundly. I'm sad too that ACU won't have Mark here to do what he does for the academic community. As I thought about Mark and his impact on me and on ACU, I was reminded of a wonderful essay by Ralph Waldo Emerson, The American Scholar. In this essay, Emerson reflects on the life of the scholar and on the status of American scholarship. And in one very well-known passage, he says something quite unexpected, something startling, perhaps from a serious scholar such as Emerson was. He says this: "Books are the best of things, well used. Abused, among the worst. What is the right use? What is the one end which all means go to effect? They are for nothing but to inspire. I had better never see a book than to be warped by its attraction clean out of my own orbit and made a satellite instead of a system. The one thing in the world of value is the active soul. This every man is entitled to. This every man contains within him, although in almost all men, obstructed and as yet unborn. The soul active sees absolute truth and utters truth, or creates. In this action it is genius, not the privilege of here and there a favorite, but the sound estate of every man." And then Emerson goes on to explain how the scholar ought and ought not to read. Emerson says, "Undoubtedly there is a right way of reading, so it be sternly subordinated. Man thinking must not be subdued by his instruments." And then most famous line, "Books are for the scholar's idle times. When he can read God directly, the hour is too precious to be wasted in other men's transcripts of their readings. But when the intervals of darkness come, as come they must, when the sun is hid and the stars withdraw their shining, we repair to the lamps which were kindled by their ray, to guide our steps to the east again, where the dawn is." I think of Mark as I read these words by Emerson. Mark, as Dwayne has already said, Mark is a scholar. He loves his library. He loves his books. But his is a soul active. He is a highly creative, original individual who actively practices charity. He cares, that is, deeply for ideas, and he cares deeply for people. I love to hear Mark talk about people to whom he is grateful. And you can't be around him very long until you hear those stories. I love to hear him talk about people from his past, his family, his teachers, his friends from his Nashville childhood, people from whom he has learned. I loved it when he made the graduation speech recently and talked about the people from whom he has learned. Of course, he's talked about it in the most self-deprecating and funny fashion that you can imagine. But I love that about Mark. I love to hear him talk about people with whom he once worked and now works. people that he values highly for their souls, their talents, and even their eccentricities, perhaps. I love to hear Mark talk about old ideas, from our restoration heritage, for example, but also about new ideas, ideas about the future of libraries and the future of the book and the future of higher education. Mark's care for ideas and his care for people make him a wonderful friend and an extraordinary colleague, an excellent leader, and a genuine scholar who has enriched our lives and our university. Mark, on behalf of the faculty and the entire ACU community, I thank you for all that you've done for us and all you have meant to us. I thank you for your creativity, your collaboration, your care for important ideas, past and present, and your care for all of us. May the Lord bless you and keep you and Barbara. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace.
Just for 1 minute. Mark, it's my pleasure on behalf of us all to present you with this gift, which you'll recognize immediately. It's a poster from the dedication of the Gaines B. Stanley Theological Reading Room on the top floor, the third floor of the library. And I was with Elaine today, and we were observing some of this picture, and it struck me that as you look at this, I hope, upon your wall in Tennessee, that will remind you of how much we appreciate three aspects. I think we all appreciate three aspects in particular of your service. Some of you may not be able to see, but in the top right-hand corner, you see a picture of Gaines Stanley there. It's a little bit faded. Mark's legacy here is of someone who knows deeply the importance of people to the library. And many of you know how much time and effort Mark has placed in the Stanleys, seeing to their needs and cultivating that relationship. And it's a legacy to you that he's there. This is, of course, a picture of a place, and I've talked to Mark, and he's reflected upon this room and the work he did there. And you may see pictures of lamps and of tables there. Now, those aren't just any lamps and tables. Those are lamps and tables which a lot of effort went into selecting those. Some of you in this room know, because you were a part of those decisions and a part of those discussions. You've transformed place here, and place has mattered in your time. Also, on the bottom of that picture, you'll see upon the table, there's a picture of an ancient text, I think embodying principles which Mark himself has embodied here. And as I think about this photograph, this image, I think of how you have really emphasized people and places and principles. And I'm grateful for that. Thank you, Mark, for transforming our place here and for forming us as a people. Thank you.
I did enjoy the devotionals we had in the provost cabinet, much more than the agenda. My favorite devotional, people were appointed in advance to do a devotional. And my favorite and most memorable is the day that Jack Reese forgot. So Dwayne called on Jack Reese for the devotional thought. And he said, "Oh." And that was the devotional thought for the day. You see why I remembered. I'm grateful to Marcia Harper and to Dwayne VanRheenen for getting me to ACU and getting us to Abilene. And I'm thankful to Jeanine Varner and to Dwayne for working with me and working for the library to get some things done. And I'm grateful to the deans. The deans are good friends, and they've taught me and advised me and counseled me and prayed with me and cried with me. So they are the source of relationship and also comic relief. I really think the reason for me to be here and for us to be here is to learn about this community and learn where it is intellectually and spiritually. And so, in a sense, we've been graduate students at ACU, processing our traditions and our values. I'm thankful for the people who worked with me to make an impact in the lives of our students. And I'm thankful that we in the library had the opportunity to nourish those values and traditions that make ACU the unique, remarkable place it is. And I'm most of all grateful that I got to work with the library staff. It's the library staff that brought me here. Not that they were active recruiters, it was the way they conducted themselves, their model of service to people. A lot of people don't understand that academic librarians have to be taught that service is important. We didn't have to teach that here. Our librarians know that. They know it intuitively, and they know it by their faith. And I love the way they love and care for one another. And once I became acquainted with them, I wanted to be a part of them. So I honor them for that. And this university gets great library service regardless of who the dean is. I'm delighted to have a part and bring John here. You'll learn to love him and enjoy working with him. I know these are tough times for the university. University's had tough times in the past, and we'll have tough times again. But we're not worried about the future. We know that God holds that in his hands. So I'm just delighted to be a part of his work here, and Barbara is too.